Welcome to this Baja 4 collaborative worship service. Whenever you are joining us, wherever you are joining us from, you are welcome to bring your whole self here, now. We are the Baja 4, representing Unitarian Universalists across southeastern Arizona, and we worship together because we believe we are stronger together. We represent Borderlands Unitarian Universalist in Amado, Sky Island Unitarian Universalist Church in Sierra Vista, Mountain Vista Unitarian Universalist Congregation on the northwest side, and the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson on the east side. We acknowledge that this land was stolen from the Chiricahua Apache, the Pasquayaqui, O'odham, and Opata people who are the indigenous ancestors of this land and our neighbors today. Will you take a breath now in gratitude for all of the indigenous peoples who have stewarded this land and continue to do so today? Today is our ingathering, our gathering in of all of our gifts for the service of our congregations, of our Baja 4, and of our shared faith. Today we gather in hope, creativity, wonder, joy, and love. All these things we gather in as an embodiment of our shared faith. Will you take a few seconds with me now of silence? Close your eyes if you wish and ask yourself, what gifts am I bringing to this ingathering? Say that gift out loud if you are so moved, or just say it in your mind and heart. May these gifts be a blessing. And now that we have gathered in all of our gifts, come, let us worship together.
I invite you to light a chalice in your home with these words. Gather again and again and again. Why not? You are needed here. Come back when you leave, and come back when you thought you would never come back, and come back like after a long journey, knowing you have home here, no matter how long you've been gone, no matter how you left. Why not? You are needed here. You are needed here to make solid what is cracking and to shake what needs changing. Our roots are made deep by our willingness to go deeper together. So come back, grow deep roots, find something solid, and then shake the ground.
Celebrate once again. with body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit growing in all, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun, winter to spring and summer to fall, the chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again.
I've read that we perceive the present moment in 12-second increments. A trusty saddle, we ride out of time gone by and on into the unknown through the cycle of our lives in moments such as this. When aware and awake, 12 ticks of the clock, 1/5 of the round, it can sum up our sensations and expectations, our consciousness of now. And now, right now, we are caught up in a cyclone of a climate on the brink, a world in pandemic, politics out of control, economic recession impending, corporate greed never ending, and racial injustice and violence. These take hold of our lives and spin us about. And we can and we will be carried off into despair or desperately seeking distraction. And that's when 12 seconds last for eternity. But now, here, breathe with me for 12 seconds, just 12 seconds. In and out as your body requires, with awareness of the cyclone raging around us and the feelings that arise within your body. Breathing together is a prayer. It is our recognition of now, our growing awareness of what is, and our waking up to how we embody the challenges and the changes swirling about us. It is our means of riding the current together, of recognizing the need for resilience and resistance, of self-care and communal compassion. And it is our joy to hold one another in 12 seconds of breathing through your ups and downs, feeling the presence of one another in the rise and the fall of our chests, of our world, of our lives. May this be so. as we choose it to be so together.
That bird's melody, no words, just sound, your voice a melody. Some days just sound, our story might be one with larger ups and downs. Our story might be more lullaby than talk of the town. Slow, and our seed will start to shake that ground. Slow, and our seed will start to shake that ground. Made a little earthquake when we sent our roots down. Little body take shape and take stock of the town. We made you so say your imprint's gonna be so great. We made you so say that ground is better off that way. Slow, and our seed will start to shake that ground. Slow, and our seed will start to shake that ground. Why don't you try? Don't you try? Don't you try growing? Why don't you try? Don't you try? Don't you try growing? Slow, and our seed will start to shake that ground. Slow, and our seed will start to shake that shake. Make no mistake, you can tear this thing down. Make no mistake, you're an agent to change. Your story might be one that's heard all over town. Your story might be old like water underground. Slow, and our seed will start to shake that ground. Slow, and our seed will start to shake, shake. Why don't you try? Don't you try? Don't you try growing? Why don't you try? Don't you try? Don't you try growing? Slow,
And our seed will start to shake that ground.
slow,
And our seed will start to shake, shake.
that bird's melody.
And our seed will start
There's no
to
words,
shake that
just
ground.
sound, your voice a melody.
And our seed will start
Some
to
days
shake,
just
shake.
sound
Slow, and our seed will start to shake that ground.
slow,
And our seed will start to shake,
shake, shake.
Many years ago, the animals in the great forest decided they wanted to start a school for all of their children. Until that time, it had been the parents' responsibility to teach the children the skills they needed to know. But they decided they wanted their children to learn from professional teachers, so they organized a school and hired staff. The administrators met and decided to provide a standardized educational curriculum to their animal students. To ensure the students were progressing satisfactorily, standardized tests were administered to all the students. And here's what happened. The ducks were excellent in swimming. In fact, the ducks were better than their teachers. But some of the ducks only made passing grades in flying, and all of them were terrible at running. Since they were slow in running, they had to stay after school for remedial running practice. And they had to drop swimming in order to practice running during their swimming class time. This was kept up until all the ducks' feet were very, very sore, and the ducks were so tired that soon they were only average in swimming. But average was acceptable in school, so nobody worried about that except the ducks. In running, the rabbits started at the top of the class, but they did very poorly in swimming. Also, the rabbits insisted on hopping around, and the teachers were concerned about their hyperactivity. So they made the rabbits walk slowly everywhere instead of allowing them to run or to hop. And the rabbits had to come in early every day for a special swimming class. Many of the younger rabbits developed severe fur problems because of the time spent in the swimming pool. The squirrels, however, were excellent in climbing and running. In fact, the squirrels were the best students at climbing the standardized tree, but they wanted to fly by first climbing the tree and then spreading the paws and gliding to the ground. That's the way that squirrels fly. But in flying class, their teacher made them start on the ground instead of at the top of the tree, and the squirrels were not mastering the course material. So every day, the squirrels had therapy, flying therapy. The flying therapist took the squirrels into the gym and made them do front paw exercises to strengthen the muscles so they could learn to fly the right way. The squirrels' paws hurt so much from this overexertion that some of them only got a C in climbing. Some of the squirrels failed climbing altogether. The eagles were definitely problem children. In climbing class, the eagles beat all the other students to the top of the tree, but they insisted on using their own way to get there and were quite stubborn about it. See, the eagles said that clearly it was the goal that mattered, getting to the top of the tree, and not how they got there. So it was okay for them to start on the ground and fly up. But the school psychologist diagnosed them as having oppositional defiant disorder, and a strict behavioral modification plan was developed for the eagles. Now, we can end the story in two ways. The sad way is to say that in some schools, we still make squirrel children learn to fly by flapping their paws and punish eagles for being defiant about their rights to be themselves. But happy to say that in some schools, we enjoy all children for being themselves. Each squirrel is a perfectly wonderful squirrel. Each rabbit is a lovely rabbit, whether or not they choose to hop, skip, roll, or walk. Eagle is allowed to be an eagle, and we encourage each duck to swim, 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 and not worry about learning to run. So the moral of the story, when we try to make everybody the same, no one is happy, and we lose the gifts and the talents that each of us brings from our own unique person. And that maybe in this incredibly unusual school year, for many of us, teachers and students, this year we all feel like ducks trying to learn how to run.
Hey, y'all. It's been a while. It's been a while since we've seen each other, since we've seen them. How are you doing?
Oh my God.
COVID fine, right? I wonder, maybe we could all share a little bit about something we learned this summer, just to catch folks up. Something that came to mind for me, so in late July, early August, I decided to do an online Buddhist meditation retreat. I studied Buddhism in college, and decided to go back to the center because they're offering classes online that I went to when I was in college, over a decade ago. And I was just so excited about this return to a spiritual practice that I had kind of learned and put on the bookshelf while I was in seminary and immersing in Unitarian Universalism and really trying to find the Christian roots of that. And so I was super jazzed about it. And we rented this Airbnb, and I was there by myself with my dog, and I was just sitting for hours, and it was actually enjoyable. And we talked about loving kindness and metta and all these wonderful spiritual concepts. And then Reverend Matthew, actually, you texted me and said, "Hey, did you know that Border Patrol is surrounding the No More Deaths camp in Arivaca?" It's like, no, I did not know that, because I'm on a Buddhist meditation retreat trying to detach, right? And I went through a deep discernment over, because I needed that retreat. Like, we all needed something, right? And I needed that retreat. I needed that time alone. I needed to just sit and try to not think. But I also realized that I needed to be there in Arivaca as witness, because clergy had been asked to go. So I made the decision to go and witness, and Reverend Matthew, you were there too, and other clergy colleagues were there, and other Samaritans were there, had agreed to go. And I asked my teacher, one of the Buddhist teachers, what should I do? Like, I've got to take the break from retreat. We're not supposed to, but I've got to do this. What should I do? And she said very quickly, well, you show loving kindness to all you meet. And I knew I'd be sitting across from Border Patrol, right? Witnessing whatever they were doing. And I said, well, this will be interesting. And we went. And we sat there in 110-degree weather under a shade that we brought by ourselves across from this checkpoint that Border Patrol had set up along this dirt road on the way to camp. And there were 25 vehicles at any point in time surrounding camp. And Border Patrol was there, at least 4 cars at all times, and a dog was there, getting out occasionally to give the dog a break and Border Patrol to stretch their legs. And I just kept coming back to that feeling of, in one of the metta meditations we were led through, it was the early stage. So we were asked to just imagine that person or that being who shows total love for you, and imagine yourself enveloped in that love. And oh my God, it felt so good. It almost moved me to tears just to imagine it. For me, it was my dog. The way my dog looks at me, like, she has nothing but love for me. And it makes me feel so in the world, present, full. And I started wondering, what makes those Border Patrol agents feel that way? Who makes those Border Patrol agents feel that way? When do they feel totally immersed in love and totally held by whoever or whatever it is that shows them that love? And what would it be like, or how might they then show that love to others? Who do they show that love to already in their life? And what if they were moved to a point where they could show that love to all they meet? I don't think I did a very good job at the work of showing total loving kindness for Border Patrol. It feels like that's like the PhD of Buddhism, and I'm in kindergarten. But gosh, the concept has got me really rooted and deep in my own, what I need and what I need in order to do ministry well in this world, and to be a human well in this world.
Well, I really needed you out there, so thank you for taking that step laterally and bringing your heart with you. I was really terrified by that dog with Border Patrol. When I got out of the vehicle and came around the edge, there were 4 or 5 agents and then this dog, and my heart raced. And then I came around the corner of the vehicle, and there were you under that shade, kicking back and chilling with our interfaith colleagues. And my everything just slowed down. My heart rate dropped, and my anxiety disappeared, because you were just so at peace being out there. So thank you. Thank you for being there. I had a conversation with Reverend Bart from St. Mark's while we were out there, very much about the same thing. How can we express love? How can we express compassion for those agents? I mean, it wasn't abstract. You know, it was those people out there whose job at that moment was to intimidate and frighten the border crossers there at bird camp, and volunteers with No More Deaths. And I had just finished Valerie Carr's book, See No Stranger. And she talks about that there is a way, I guess I would say it, that there would be an interdependence in our loving, that when someone is oppressing another, if someone has a knee on the neck of another person, in that moment, it's not theirs to love, but it's to survive. It's someone else's work in that moment, and I to love, and I need that person, like I needed you out there, so that I could come back to a calm and centered place and love. And I guess that's what I'm learning. That's what I'm finding, is the interdependence and my dependence on the three of you to do this ministry today. You use so often, I feel, interpret our seventh principle as interconnection, not interdependence. And
Is it? Hold on.
I'm pretty sure that. What are you gonna do? Oh no! Have I been wrong all this time?
Hold the phone. Pause the recording.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay.
Have you been wrong
Now we're
all
gonna have
this
a race
time?
to find it. Okay.
I'm gonna beat you
I think
to
you're
it.
right.
Oh yeah, definitely
Right.
interdependent.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, okay. Great. Thank you. Thank you all for checking chapter and verse. Shoot. I think for me, it's so much more interdependence than interconnection. It's our depth of relationship, a recognition that it's free-flowing in both directions. It's equitable. You have your gifts and you bring them and share them, and I bring mine and my limitations as well. So I'm just really extraordinarily grateful to the three of you, of course, to the staff, and to Jody, our editor. Always deserves a shout out. The interdependence that we share, I'm learning more about through the summer, now into the fall, so thank you.
What about you, Tina? What did you learn?
Well, for me, summer started mid-March when my boys never went back from spring break. And I have learned some amazing things. I've learned about people in my church being really good about interconnection as well as interdependence. When I'm worried about someone, I find them and they're actually calling 5 other people. I've been really impressed by how they've been reaching out and really doing the work at the church together. And I'm really grateful that we've had this many months, and we had one afternoon where my boys kind of went for each other's necks. Just one afternoon. And while I don't think as a parent I should lean on them constantly for emotional support, oh my goodness, have they been good emotional support. I kind of think of as we get older, we get a little deeper, we've lived through some things so that when a storm comes, the waves don't get so melodramatic. But in this case, everything was tossed upside down. I've never lived through this before, and so my kids have been calmer sometimes than I am. And, there's a lot of outtakes. It takes me a lot of time to video myself. Then there's a lot of swearing and maybe some yelling. And then they come upstairs and they hug me. And I've been paying attention to Dr. Sanjay Gupta, who does a podcast on the coronavirus and kids. And he has one really lovely essay called Childhood Interrupted. And he looks at the brain and how the hormone cortisol, which we have a lot of in stress, hits your hippocampus so you forget stress and trauma. But it also hits your amygdala, which makes you really emotional, which is why probably it's hitting mine more than theirs, actually. But also there's oxytocin, which comes out when you have a baby or you're touching somebody. It's called the cuddle hormone. And so he talks about, he has 3 daughters. The oldest is 15. They cuddle a lot. They sit together. Well, I have 2 boys. But it's really interesting. The older one, when we're hiking, he goes for walks with us now with our dogs always. And he puts his arm around me and he scratches my back. Now, I'm not allowed to scratch his back, but I'm figuring he's getting some of the good hormone, you know. And then my younger son will hug me if I've done something he really likes, or if I'm yelling and I seem upset. And I'm hoping they're getting a little bit back from that, a little bit of the cuddle hormone, right? But what Gupta has discovered is that kids will be resilient if they're cocooned in that love and that sense of safety, even if they'll have lived through this, but they'll be. And the other thing I've been thinking about is it's an article that came out in 2013. Someone named Bruce Feiler published it in the New York Times, and it's about how if kids know their family history, they tend to face things with more resilience and more self-confidence. And it's really especially good if it's an oscillating family history, not, oh, we did really well or we crashed and burned, but that we picked ourselves up again. And that seems to really help kids be resilient. But my favorite bit of advice is from someone named Suzanne Stabile, who talks a lot about the Enneagram. And on her show, people were calling and leaving messages. And she said, honey, if you call in asking, how can I be a better parent? You are a good parent. So I realize I may not be an amazing parent, but I have really great kids. So I'm enjoying being on this ship with them. And check in 6 months. I'll see how they're doing. But I'm really grateful. How about you, Samantha, now that you have a kid in your life?
I'm back. I really, just being with you, I really missed you 3 and our work hangouts. I had a baby, and I guess one thing when I look back on the whole experience, I am owning that my experience of pregnancy. So I've waded into the kind of parent, mommy culture thing, where you start to wonder what kind of pregnancy experience you're going to have. And I know that we each take different journeys, but I would look back on my pregnancy and say that I didn't necessarily find it a spiritual experience. I was mostly tired and hungry. And I remember many calls that we all had together where I would just have trays of food, entire melons that I was eating while we edited and talked and worked on things together. And I remember family saying, oh, you're a minister, you're going to write so many things about your pregnancy. And I come up short. But what I do feel when I look at my summer and what I've learned, 2 particular moments. One is that I get to belong to an incredible congregation. Mountain Vista saw farther than I saw and organized to have 2 months worth of dinners brought to my house, which is just incredible. And I think, each night a new congregant would show up with something that they cooked or something that they had picked up. And I appreciate that they knew before I did what I needed. And so there was an interdependence, Matthew, that I didn't realize I needed. So I appreciate being mentored into that independence, that we had an interdependent covenant together. And then the second moment, people would tell me, like, birth is such a spiritual experience, not mine. And I want to honor all different kinds of birthing experiences. But the spiritual moment for me was, at one point I was in the hospital with just me and my partner, and then suddenly the room was filled with people. And I knew none of them. And I couldn't even see their faces because we were all masked. But there they were, and I was trusting them, and they were helping me do this incredible thing. And then they were gone, just as quickly as they left. And I could feel in myself an interdependence that it didn't really matter who was behind the hospital door. They were going to walk through the door and care for the person behind it. And that meant the world to me. So I'm thinking about the power of interdependence based on our commitment to a principle. They had the principle of no harm and deep care. And they walked in and they impacted my life interdependently. So I'm grateful for interdependence and covenant in our communities, and then I'm grateful for interdependence based on our commitment to a principle of interdependence. And then it leads me to end up having this beautiful little cherub in my home who, when she cries, my body physically aches, some parts more than others. And I can't help. I can't help but be interdependent with her. And so maybe there's the spiritual part, the mystery of our interdependence with each other. And what you said, Tina, that she's right now taking in the building blocks of interdependence based on how I nurture her, based on the food I get to eat and feed her, based on the community I get to be part of. So I also end in gratitude for the fact that we do that for each other and that we get to continue doing that together this year.
Keep your heart wide open, though the waves wanna push you around. You've got to keep your heart wide open till your faith brings you back to solid ground. I'm gonna keep your heart. I'm gonna keep wide open. I'm gonna keep my heart wide open. Though the waves want to push you around. Though the waves want to push me around. I'm gonna keep your heart. I'm gonna keep wide open. I'm gonna keep my heart wide open until my faith brings me back to solid ground. Until my faith brings me back to solid ground. I'm gonna keep your heart. I'm gonna keep wide open. I'm gonna keep my heart wide open. Though the waves want to push around. Though the waves want to push me around. I'm gonna keep your heart. I'm gonna keep wide open. I'm gonna keep my heart wide open till my faith brings me back to solid ground. Till my faith brings me back to solid ground.
This is how we begin to gather in spirit, bringing our gifts, planting seeds in open hearts, and learning to shake that ground. In the coming weeks, we will continue to gather in spirit as we go on the road and virtually visit each of our Baja 4 congregations. And as we do, we gather in a new spirit of the Baja 4, which might look a little different. Our Baja 4 brings the gift of interdependence, planting seeds in hearts opening anew and shaking the ground that needs to be shaken in ways that we've never imagined before. Our faith teaches us that we need one another mutually and lovingly. Let us live so boldly with gratitude.
The chalice extinguishing today is number 512 in our Living Tradition hymnal. It was written by the Reverend O. Eugene Pickett, who was president of the Unitarian Universalist Association from 1979 to 1985, and he just died this summer. It's participatory, and after each paragraph, when I go like this, please say with me, "We give thanks this day." For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations. We give thanks this day. For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons, we give thanks this day. For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements, we give thanks this day. For our human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression, we give thanks this day. For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared, we give thanks this day. For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom, we give thanks this day. For human liberty and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose, we give thanks this day. We pray that we may live not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds.
She was really good for that.
She did so good.
Wow.
Oh my god. Close up, baby.
Glad we used a doll instead of real baby for that. That's smart.